Referencing is important when completing research assignments, as you must acknowledge the author or authors of the information that you are using. This helps ensure that you do not steal or plagiarize the work of others by claiming that it is your own. Referencing also helps the reader find the original source if they wish. Furthermore, using referencing in your work helps to add authenticity to your argument because it shows that you have read widely and from reliable sources. You need to reference within the text of your assignment and also include further details in your reference list or bibliography. Let's explain some of the key terms used when referencing. A bibliography is a list of all the sources that you have consulted to complete your assignment, such as books, web pages, newspapers, journal articles, and so on. You may not have used all the sources in your final assignment, and some of the items you list may only have been used by you as background reading. Most of the time, you'll be required to create a reference list. This is a full list of only the sources that you have referred to throughout your assignment using in-text referencing. The purpose of a reference list is to enable the person reading your assignment to locate and verify the information that you have provided. When including web pages in your reference list, please note that the URL alone is never enough information for your reader to find your sources, as URLs can change over time. Providing the author, date, and title of the web page in your reference list means that the reader has a greater chance of finding the information, even if the URL no longer works. You will need to refer to each item from your reference list throughout your assignment as well. This is called in-text referencing or in-text citations. An in-text citation or reference usually contains two pieces of information only: the surname of the author or authors of the source that you are using and the year of publication. The surname or surnames and the year should be separated by a comma. A page number is also needed if you use a direct quote from a book. That is, if you have used quotation marks to quote words exactly as they appear in your source. If you have used a book and have put the information in your own words, also known as paraphrasing, you do not need to include the page number, but the author of the book and the year is certainly still needed. In-text citations need to be included inside a pair of brackets, either within the sentence or at the end of the sentence. Note that the full stop comes after the brackets if the in-text reference is at the end of the sentence. The information you provide in your in-text referencing provides just enough detail so that the person reading your assignment knows which entry in your reference list you are referring to, and from there, where the reader can verify the information you have provided. In-text referencing should look something like this. Note that if you use the author's name or the year of publication within the text of the sentence, you do not need to repeat these details in the brackets at the end of the sentence. The most common question from students is, what do I need to reference? You must reference both ideas and information. For example, you must reference data, statistics, tables, direct quotes, and the opinions and ideas of other researchers and knowledgeable people in the field which you are studying. You do not have to reference what is known as common knowledge. This is somewhat difficult to define, as what may be common knowledge in one field will not be in another. Essentially, however, common knowledge is what most people who study a particular topic would be expected to know, and which has the status of established fact. There are numerous methods of referencing. This video will show you how to use the built-in referencing tool in Microsoft Word using the APA style. The video will show you how to begin and how to set up your reference list or bibliography. To begin, find the References tab in the top ribbon of Word. Among other things, you will notice that you can create a table of contents, footnotes, citations, and bibliographies or captions under this tab. The one that you will use most will be Citations and Bibliography. Check that the style is set to APA. When you have done this, select Manage Sources, then select New. You will notice that the type of source box will be illuminated. The most common source types that you will most likely need are book, website, journal article, more likely in the senior years, or book section, which means that, for example, when chapters of a book are written by different authors. Let's begin with book. You will need to look in the first couple of pages of the book you wish to reference for a page which looks something like this. This page gives you all the details that you need. First, find the author or authors of the book. In this case, there are 3 authors. You must include the names of all authors separated by a semicolon. Ultimately, it is the author's surname and first initial only that will appear in your reference list. Note that there are examples for how to set out each field provided at the bottom of the form. You must complete the form with details of the book title, year of publication, location, and publisher. Click OK, then Close. Continue to add each reference in this way as you complete your assignment. The structure is a little different for web pages. Before I explain how to add a web entry using the word referencing tool, let me explain the term corporate author. When you are researching, you will come across two broad categories of authors. The most common will be individuals. This means that the source that you are using has been written by someone who has both a first and a last name, for example, Jane Smith. The other broad category is corporate author. This means that the source that you are using has been written by someone within a company or government organization, for example. You may not know their first and last name, so you will need to use the company name. Within Word, if you are using a source written by a corporate author, you must ensure that you click the corporate author checkbox, which is located underneath author. To begin adding a web page to your reference list, click on References, then Manage Sources, as you did earlier. Select Website in the Type of Source field. I have decided to use this web page to demonstrate how to add a website to your reference list. You will notice that the web page does not have an individual author, so I will need to use BBC News as the corporate author. Click the corporate author box and add BBC News as the author. This is the point that you need to be particularly careful. You will notice in this APA guide to referencing web pages that you'll need to include the author, year, title of page, and the URL when adding a web page. You do not need to include the date that you access the web page unless the material may change over time. For example, in the case of a wiki. You may need to refer back to this video for the first couple of times that you add a web page to your reference list. Go back to your form now and add year, name of web page, and the URL. You may include the month and day the article or web page was created if those details are provided on the web page you are using. Ignore the other fields. Note that the name of the web page is the title at the top of the web page. Also note that the year can sometimes be hard to find on some web pages. Try to look for the copyright sign, which often has a year after it. This may be located at the bottom of the web page in small print. If you cannot find a date on the web page, write ND in the year field or leave the year field blank and Word will add the ND for you. ND stands for no date. You do not want to have too many of these in your assignment because it is hard to verify how up to date your information is if you do not know the date that your sources were published. Other common items you will need to include in your reference list include chapter in a book, journal article, newspaper and magazine articles, video or DVD, YouTube video. Note that you should use YouTube videos carefully in your assignments. Many are produced by people who you do not know the credentials of, so you need to consider their reliability and therefore the usefulness and validity of the video very carefully. When you want to create your reference list or bibliography, click on Bibliography and select References or Bibliography from the drop-down menu. If you add any additional sources after you have inserted your reference list, you will need to click on Update Citations and Bibliography at the top of your reference list. Note that the first line of each reference list entry is aligned at the left indent. Any subsequent lines of each reference list entry are indented by one tab stop. Be sure to note that your reference list or bibliography should be arranged alphabetically by author. Note that company names and organizations in your reference list should not appear in reverse order as with individual author names. Don't underestimate the importance of accurate referencing in assignments. It is often part of the criteria that you'll be marked on, and you can gain relatively easy marks by doing it accurately. Be sure to ask for help from your teacher if you need it.